Hello and welcome back to the Garden Hutch. This is week 26 and I wanted to take you on a short tour of my herb garden. Let's take a quick look and see what's going on. This garden is packed full of our herbs. We are so happy that this turned out the way it did. I wanted to take a few minutes today, hi beans, and show you what we have growing. And please excuse the mess. There's dandelion greens everywhere. I haven't had a chance to get out here and tackle those. That's going to be another chore for another day. But let's start and talk about my lavender. These two lavender bushes were purchased somewhere. I don't remember where Jeremy got them for me, but he just surprised me one day with two lavender plants. They were tiny little sprigs and they have just completely taken off. As you can tell, it is time to harvest some of this, and I dry it out and use it for herbal teas. It's wonderful in like a little potpourri. If you have like a diffuser, if you want to put a few sprigs in your diffuser with your essential oil, it adds an extra spice to the house. So I just wanted to kind of show you what my lavender looks like and how awesome it has grown. Then we'll take a step over here to the other side. Before we do, this thing is going crazy. This, there was a couple chunks of this that I got at the Master Gardener's Plant Sale about 3 years ago. It is a prairie grass, and when it blooms, it blooms. It gets these weird squiggle wands of awesomeness, and they just kind of add a whimsical touch to the garden, so I thought they were fun. I'm eventually going to be digging these up and replanting them somewhere else. They are just taking up way too much space in here, and I want to add more flowers that are going to be low-lying to the ground. I had to share that with you guys because it was just hilarious. But we're going to take a step over here, and you can tell it's kind of hard to maneuver around these big old wands of love. This is my sedum. I am really happy with this. It was a little bitty plant. It's kind of like a succulent. It will bloom in the fall, in August and September, and it's going to have these big, huge mass of red blooms, and I just can't wait. I wanted to show you the progress on this. I know a couple of months ago I kind of introduced it when we bought it at the Master Gardener's Plant Sale back in the beginning of May, and it's just happy, and it looks like it's either getting new leaves or it's getting ready to produce its stalks for its flowers. But next to that, we've got our sage. I love sage. If anybody loves potatoes, put some sage in there. It is amazing. And this stuff is so fragrant. This was two plants that I put in here 2 years ago. I have trimmed a lot of it back to allow new growth. And this is all new growth for the year. Every bit of this. Now, of course, it's going to be crowded out again by my oregano. We're going to talk about the oregano in a second. But this sage is amazing. And it's just your regular kitchen sage. Beautiful, gorgeous. It hasn't flowered, so we're going to use as much of it as we can. Next to that is the oregano. I've talked about this before. I started this patch from one little sprig off my original plant, and it has just completely taken over this corner. I've trimmed it back several times. It looks like I'm going to have to get in here and trim it back again. But one thing to keep in mind is as the weather gets hotter, you're going to get flowers. This is the portion you want to come back and trim off. Reason being, if you don't, a lot of this is going to die back, and then it's going to go dormant until the next year. So you want to make sure to keep trimming this back if you want to continually harvest this. I don't see us running out of oregano anytime soon. And yeah, this guy's a beast. And in here, this is my chaos. So I love this little thing. I have planted a variety of different things in this little planter. It's done really well. I have got my chamomile. It's kind of dying back a little bit. I've failed to harvest it. Of course, I was gone for a week, so I didn't get to harvest those fresh flowers on there, but it's going to actually bloom again. There's several new blooms on there, so I'll be able to cut it back. But I've harvested a little bit, and I'm going to use it, of course, for sleepy time teas. We've talked about that in the past. The chamomile's doing really well. I kind of screwed up and planted some mammoth dill in here too, just to kind of take up space. It's kind of crowding everybody out, but look at the dill. What is the dealio? This thing is going crazy. Next, we're going to go on the other side, and I'm going to take you and show you my other small herbs. So on this other side, I've got a variety of flowers coming up. I'm so excited. This is my Shasta daisy. Look how tall this thing is. It's like 3 feet. I'm so excited. I started this from seed, transplanted it in here just to see what happened. Last year it didn't bloom, but it came back. And I didn't realize that they were perennials. So I just left it in here, and this thing is wild, and it goes really great in my bouquets. I'm really loving this beautiful plant. Shasta daisies are fun, they're cute, and this is a white variety, so it's definitely something to keep in your garden. Next to that, this is something I'm super proud of. It is our tarragon. I did not realize I loved tarragon as much as I do. It's got a synonym, that's a hard word to say. It's a cinnamon kind of flavor, kind of like nutmeg in a way. It's kind of like an allspice, but it is amazing on sweet potatoes, y'all. This is like the coolest thing. We've tried some pickles with some tarragon. We're going to see how they taste. Maybe it's like one of those bread and butter type, or like a spice pickle, but I love this plant. And it was a tiny little plant that I got at the Master Gardener sale this year, and it has just taken off. I'm loving this guy. You can see some more of that prairie grass taking over my life. But next to that is my rosemary. I started this from seed. Rosemary and lavender are very difficult to start from seed. If you can do that, you're a superhero, because it took about 5 tries for me. But I finally got one that took. I put it out here. Last year I lost both of my rosemary plants in here because of the hard freeze. It killed it back. It wasn't coming back at all. So I had to pull them up. So I'm really happy to have my rosemary back in here. Of course, I put it in a space that it's got enough room to grow and bloom out. But that's another reason why I want to take out the prairie grass, is because this thing's going to take over a lot of this space, and I'm not going to be able to get in here. But it makes me happy. It's a happy little plant. Next to that in this pot is our parsley. We started this from seed as well. The parsley is doing really well. We also have it interspersed in our old garden, but it did really well in this pot last year, so we decided to put some more, and it's really good. You can pretty much do anything with parsley. It's awesome. And then next to that in the other planter, and please excuse this wild horse nettle. I got to get in here and get it out. Don't have my gloves today. But next to that in this other planter is our thyme. This stuff is so prolific. It started out with one little sprig too, and it's just completely taken off. We started this from seed, y'all. Seed. And look at it. This is year 2 on this thyme, and it's just amazing. It is blooming too, so I'm going to have to get in here and trim that out. But the cool thing with thyme, if you don't get to the blooms in time, it's going to grow in a whole nother vine and just start all over. So it's doing great. And next to that in the chaotic mess is my other echinacea being taken over by some more prairie grass. Got to get that out of there. The prairie grass that's next to the echinacea is what is called a blue stargazer. And I didn't realize it was going to bush out like that either. So we might end up digging that out too, because there's so much space over there that I could be using for other herbs that I don't get to use. But this is kind of a taste of what we've got. One final thing I did want to share too is the salvia. This salvia is great. It's a purple salvia. Bees love it. It brings in all the pollinators to my herb garden, and every year it just gets better and better. And a few videos back, I kind of talked about how I lost it and thought it was completely gone, but it had some new growth coming up, and that's all the new growth. It's amazing. After we adventured in the herb garden, there are some other herbs that are interspersed out throughout the yard. One of those is my lemon balm. This is an amazing plant. It is flowering too, so I need to come out and harvest this. Now's a good time to start harvesting. Things are going to start flowering. You want to go ahead and trim off those flower heads. It's got a lot of fragrant leaves in that batch, and so now is a good time to go ahead and harvest this, take it inside, use a dehydrator. I've been setting my dehydrator on 122 and letting it go for about 8 hours, and if I feel like there's still moisture in there, I'm going to go ahead and set it for another 4 hours, usually 2 to 4, and that should dry it out completely to where you can go ahead and jar it up. If you have a dehydrator, it's really great to have. Not only can you make beef jerky and deer jerky, but you can also dry your herbs really quick so you don't get any of the molds on them, and you can put your jars away and have it ready to go within days. But this lemon balm is so good. Everyone that comes over, they love to pick leaves off of this and just smell it because it's just amazing. And then of course next to that is my bee balm. I purchased this from the Master Gardener's plant sale. Wanted to see what it did. I've never seen bee balm in action. It is blooming. Look at that. It's going to have these big purple heads all over it, and then of course bees are going to come in and just go wild, and my honeybees are going to be so happy. But let's take a step into the top garden because I have some other herbs to show you. The final herb I wanted to show you was our basil. Now, we do have basil in our old garden too, but this is our main space for our basil. We planted it here last year. It did really well in this space, and we've got 3 plants in between. We've got the marigolds. Marigolds are taking over here, but our cherry tomatoes are loving this companion. Basil is one of the best companions for your tomatoes, and you can tell on here that it's starting to get its little flower heads. You just come out here, pinch it off like that. Here's a good example of one. You just pinch that off, and these are so fragrant. You can put these in anything. I love to just take basil leaves and some crackers and a piece of cheese and sliced tomatoes, and you just kind of make you a snack. It is so good, and the basil just adds an extra spark of life when you eat those. But this is one thing I did want to share with you because we don't have any basil growing in the herb garden. We did, the wind broke it and it died back. But we do have it out here, and we have plenty of it. So if you need any basil and you're a friend of the family, hit us up because we want to share. Well, that kind of concludes my herb update. I know I don't get out there and deal with it a lot, and you don't get to see a lot of the behind the scenes. Sorry, there's a spider web in my face. But for me, coming out and being able to walk through my herb garden and smell the variety of scents that we've got in there, what can you do with all these herbs? Like I said, dehydrate them, use them in teas, use them in your spices with your meats. You can cut them fresh and use them. Like with the tarragon, we put tarragon on our potatoes, sweet potatoes. It actually goes really well with pork and rice. Keep that in mind for like an Asian dish. It's so good. But the herbs are just something extra, you know, and it's like, okay, let's go to the store and get these dried herbs that are going to cost us $3 a little bottle. Or you can grow these at home and not have to pay for all that and have them in your yard. You can harvest them, dehydrate them, save them for later. You're going to save a lot of money that way. Plus, you're going to have a lot of good smelling plants in your yard. But I've enjoyed you hanging out with us. For week 26, it's been phenomenal. We made it through a lot of the triple digits last week. So happy. Thanks for liking our last video and pushing that one. That was amazing just to see how good our gardens look in that nasty heat. We continue to enjoy having you guys along. If you haven't, please go like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It's going to send you updates on our content. We put out 3 videos a week. We've got our Facebook page that I share pictures on, especially with the pollinators and what else is growing in the yard. We hope you have a wonderful day, and we will catch you on the flip side. We'll talk to you soon.